So today is a repotting day. I have 3 plants that I need to check the roots out on and just see what's going on with them, because all 3 of them have roots sticking out of the bottom and just need to be watered like every week, which is really uncommon for my plants. I mean, there's several other plants that are right next to them in terms of like position, where they're getting light, the temperature, airflow, all that sort of stuff, and they don't need to be watered nearly as often. So I have a sneaky suspicion that the root system is going to be very cramped inside of each one of these pots. So we're going to check that out and repot them if they need to be. 2 of them are in 4-inch pots right now, and then 1 is in a 6-inch, and I have a pot that's bigger than the 6-inch right now, so it should be good. We'll just see what happens. So the pots that I have that I potentially might repot in are these ones from Target. I might repot in these ones if the base detaches like easily, just because it like catches water down here, so there is drainage. I just don't know that I love that it's attached like that, because it just causes issues, because sometimes there's water trapped in there and you just can't get it out, even though it's got like a little drainage hole and everything. The other ones, I mean, I've got this like 6-inch one, but it's not my favorite. It's just really thick plastic and it just doesn't do a great job. Or I just have a regular like 5-6-inch container that, I mean, these are my favorites, but I don't think this is gonna be big enough for the 6-inch that needs to be repotted. The first one that we're gonna do is actually my neon pothos. It's this massive plant in a tiny little pot, and there's tons of roots coming out the bottom of it, so we just need to check that out. So I'm just gonna take the hooks off the top, and literally right now all I'm doing is taking the hanging bit off of it so I can get it out without having to like break any vines potentially. Because there's so many people in all these like repotting videos that are just like, oh, move the camera down, we can't see what you're doing. And it's like, I try, I only have 1 camera though, and this one, it's not like super interesting seeing what I'm doing. So we've got that off, let's take them out. We're just gonna do what we normally do, which is just squeeze the pot a ton, grab it all, and just not like force it out, but just try to get them out without like breaking it all up very much. These ones are always harder that are like vining a ton. The problem is like he's so worked in there. Got him. All right. So that's that. And it's actually not quite as bad as I expected. Let me see if I can get it to focus in on the roots. But it's pretty root bound. Like there's quite a lot of roots, especially down at the bottom. It's like circled around quite a lot. So yeah. Lots of roots in there. They've even started circling in like circles around where the drainage holes are. So now let's break up the root ball and repot it into some soil in a bigger pot. And for all the plants that I repot like this, I like to wait until they need to be watered again, because I like watering my plants right after I repot them. So for this one, I waited until it was dry, or felt like it was dry and needed to be watered again before I went to go repot this. These roots are really worked together down here though. And with these repottings, like you're always going to break off some of the roots. It's gonna happen. They're just so tightly in there together. It's just, you try to just tease them out a bit to where they're not super woven together and they can grow separately, but then that you're not like breaking them all up completely. Like on this side especially, they're so tightly packed in together. And you actually don't even need to completely break them up. It's just kind of loosening them up so they have room to spread and they like don't just stay in their little position when you repot them. So I'm not even gonna completely like get the soil off or anything like that. I'm just gonna keep trying to like loosen it up a bit more, just so the soil isn't like compacted in right there, and that, yeah, just so water can get everywhere. So yeah, that's about as much as I'm gonna loosen it up. So you can see it like moves around a lot more when I feel it. And that's gonna probably be just about fine. And your plant's gonna get dirty during this. This is why I like watering it afterwards, because then you can kind of give it a bit of a shower after. So this one, based on these roots, I think going into a pot about this big is gonna be fine. It's gonna need repotting again in the future, obviously, but that will do for now. So I've got a fresh bag of soil here, so it does need to be broken up a bit. Then I also like using a bit of the old soil as well, just so it's not completely like a new medium and everything that it's growing in. And it's something that's still like a bit familiar. So I put a bit in the bottom right there just to cover it all up. I'm gonna take Pothos, plop it in. And then this bit, I'm so sorry, you're not gonna really be able to see what I'm doing in here, just because the plant is so big and it's not gonna be able to like be moved around enough for you to see right inside the pot, but I guess I'll do my best. So it's right in there. You wanna make sure that the plant is covered to the same amount as it was in the other pot because you don't want like roots to be sticking out and everything. You just push it in, and then I just put soil in on the sides a bit and then spread it around with my fingers and kind of work it in a bit, tap it down a little bit. You don't want to push it down too much because then it gets too compact. But I just like putting it in one side mostly and then spreading it around myself just because I find it's a bit easier. And then another comment I've been getting on loads of my videos is what kind of soil mix I use. And I don't mix my soils yet because I'm in an apartment and I don't have enough space to have buckets upon buckets of like soil mix things like perlite and bark and like regular mix and all that. So mine is complete. Sorry, let me just tap the sides first to get the soil into those like the little air bubbles that form, you know? So yeah, I don't have a soil mix that I use, that I like mix myself or anything, just because I don't, like I said, I don't have the resources to put that together to like be trialing all that and everything, just because I don't even know where I'd put all that stuff. That is something, I'm sorry I don't answer all of your guys' questions when you post them. I just don't have an answer at the moment. That is something though, I'm actually moving into a house in a couple weeks, and so that is something I'm gonna have space for. So the minute I do get a soil mix together that I like, I will let you guys know, I promise. All right, and there we have it. He's all new in his pot. And there's quite a few nodes that look like they could be stuck into the soil and like get some roots on them. So I'm gonna probably go in with a bobby pin after all this and stick those in tighter so they can grow some roots into the soil and just be a bit more secured. But yeah, he's all freshly potted up, and then hopefully I can like spin some around so they fill in these gaps up here and stuff, but all good. He should have lots more room in there. Okay, so the next one that I actually needed to pot up is my Brazil Philodendron, and this is all from a 4-inch pot, and so this is a lot of growth for a 4-inch pot, and it's all quite big growth even at the ends. So I just feel like the roots are not doing too hot in there, and there's some poking out the bottom. But I feel like I checked this not too long ago and it wasn't super root bound, but it's drying out so quickly. And I don't know, I have a feeling that it needs to be repotted. So we're gonna do the same exact thing that we did with the last one. This one I will probably put lots more of the vines back into the pot though, because it's just so long, and yeah, I don't think the roots are nearly as bad as the Neon Pothos though. So, but we'll see, I might be surprised. Okay, so same thing. This soil's a lot looser, so it shouldn't be as hard to get out, except the roots out here, so we just need to be careful with that. Okay, just kidding, it's actually quite stuck in there. Here we go. So I guess it's not super root bound, but it's just quite a lot of roots there. Yeah, it's not terrible. I think there just needs to be more soil overall though. But yeah, we'll still repot it nonetheless, and we are going to pot it in the same size pot as that Neon Pothos that we just did, because that should be quite a lot of room for growth. So this one probably doesn't need as much loosening up as the Pothos did, but we're still gonna loosen it up just because I think the soil in this one's actually quite old, because I've had this one for about a year. So it's actually probably due for new soil anyways, because I don't know if you guys know, but you're supposed to repot your plant once a year regardless of if the roots are like root bound or not, just because soil has nutrients in it, and if your plant's been in there for ages, it can lose those nutrients just because the plant uses them up. And so this soil is pretty compact actually, and just feels kind of dry and chunky, but not in like a good way. So yeah, that's about as much as I'm gonna tease the roots, I guess, to get it out. And not much soil came off of there as I expected. There's not a whole lot of soil left inside the bits where the roots were, so we're just gonna mix that up with the old soil. Put the new pot in here, pop that in, and then do exactly what we did with the Pothos. And like I said, your plants are gonna get dirty during this stage, but it is what it is. I'm actually shocked that this plant survived as long as it has in that pot, because I repotted that ages ago when I first got it, and I repotted it in the same soil, which I think was it was Lowe's soil, and that's just not very good. Because, I mean, we've all been to Lowe's and checked out their plant section. It's not always the greatest, so I'm shocked that it's even survived this long. I didn't pot or like break up the vines to put any on this side because I think I'm gonna bring some of the smaller ones over and pin them in down there to get more growth points and just make a fuller pot. So yeah, I just left that space open because they were all bunched together anyways. They're liking it that way, so I'm just gonna leave them as is. Okay, and the last one we need to check the roots on is this, and he's massive for the pot that he's in. If I can lift up some of his vines. His pot is like a 6-inch, but it's just like it tapers a bit, so there's not as much room as like a traditional 6-inch because the traditional one just goes straight down and he just like slopes inwards. I'm thinking I have a pink pot and a blue pot for him, and I'm not sure which I want to pot him up in because, let me see, the pink pot would look kind of cute, but then also the blue pot, we're gonna go with the pink pot. That was an easy choice actually. Unless you disagree with me, leave that down in the comments, but I think the pink pot was an easy win. So he's got so many vines going everywhere, so this is gonna be a bit of a beast to get out of his pot, but we'll see what happens. And I'm losing daylight as I do this, so if you see the lighting change, I needed to change the settings on my camera, but I'm so sad because some of his old leaves are starting to yellow, and that is also a sign that your plant wants to be in a new pot, is yellowing leaves, just because that means that the old leaves aren't able to get the nutrients that they need, and it's just, yeah, it's a good sign that you need to check the roots and just repot your plants. I tied a couple pieces of twine on here to hang it because I didn't have like a plant hanger to hang it with at the time. So we're gonna chop those to make this a bit easier for us. Careful not to chop the actual plant. Okay, and that's gonna be tons easier because then we don't have to worry about like maneuvering them around. So let's get him out of his pot and see his roots. And this is one that I've just been putting off for ages just because I knew the minute I bought him that he was root bound. He's got so many roots coming out of the bottom even right here, so it was just a bit clear right off the bat that he needed to be repotted, but it's just something that like I never got around to. These pots are so stiff I can't even get them out. There's chunks of soil flying loose, but not much else. I have a little shovel and I'm gonna get that and kind of like stick it in the outskirts of the pot to see if I can loosen that up a bit. Here we go, I got this tiny little shovel. We'll see if he helps. Gonna go in, see if we can't like pry him out almost. Okay, I think I got him loose. So let's take a look here. Oh my goodness. I think that's a bit insane, but wow. So he definitely has been needing a repot. I mean, that's pretty clear. The roots are super healthy though, so I'm pleased with that. Okay, let's just squeeze those, try to loosen those up. These are actually just completely molded to the bottom of that pot they were in. And I like to also get my fingers right into the center of the whole root ball just to make sure that there's no like smaller plug or anything on the plants that might like screw my plants in the future, just because that would really be a bummer. And it's like I'm already repotting it and trying to get all these roots like untangled, so might as well just kill two birds with one stone type thing and check for both. I find that a lot with monsteras though. A lot of times people buy these really big monsteras from big box stores and they find a smaller pot inside that monstera, and the roots have grown outside of that small pot, but then it just, eventually the core of the plants and the roots can't take it very much, being so root bound inside that small little pot, so it just declines really quickly. So it's just something to always be mindful of and check if you get a plant, especially from a big box store, but it can be any store really. Because it's not like every single store that's getting plants and is checking the roots of them. That would just be a bit of a nightmare to do. Okay, that's about as much I think as I'm gonna break it up. So much soil on these leaves now, but is what it is. Gonna leave that right there. Before I pot it into this Target pot, I'm going to see if I can get the bottom like dish off of here, because I just don't want that stuck on there like after I pot the plant up in there, because that's just gonna be an issue. So I'm gonna try to break that off real quick. That actually came off really easily. So now I've got this pot, and I might keep that dish off, I might not, we'll see, but we're gonna pot it up in here now. And guess what? It's the exact same thing what we've done with the other two plants. This pot's actually great because it's got all these little lines for drainage as well, so there's loads of drainage from this pot at the bottom here. And they were super cheap too. I think it was only like a couple dollars for each one, maybe like 3 to 5 maybe. Now that I'm potting up in this big pot though, I don't know that I'm gonna have enough room to hang this basket. So we're gonna have to come to that issue after we finish doing this to see where we wanna put him, what we want to do with him. I'm gonna try to drape the vines over the side a bit so they don't get in my way. Yeah, so literally I'm just doing the same exact thing as I did for the rest of them. Sorry you can't see this bit, but I literally showed it for the other two, so you can imagine what it's looking like. And then I'm gonna have to turn it because this pot is just too full for me to just keep it all on one side. I'm gonna turn it, try to hold up the leaves as best I can so I can actually get the soil down in there. And I hope this soil mix is a good one. I just bought the regular potting mix from a store, a local nursery around here. And I like their plants, they always look really healthy, so I hope the soil mix is a good one. Looks like it's quite chunky. I see some like bits of bark in there and like perlite and everything, so it seems like it should be good. And like I said, most of my plants are surviving off of like Lowe's soil anyways, so this is probably premium soil to them. Oh, it's definitely a heavy pot now. I think there's only a little bit more space to fill up. Okay, and that's that one all potted up as well. And then one last thing while we're here and while I have like all this soil stuff and everything out, my sister gave me a little grow pencil thing from Target. It's apparently got a little seed on one end, and you're supposed to plant that end and basically start a seed. I don't know what kind of plant it is, but we're gonna see if it works. I've never used one of these before, and it just seems like something fun to do, so I'm gonna bring you guys along with me, and then I'm gonna track how this does, if it sprouts, if it doesn't, all that sort of stuff. But I'm just gonna use the little pot that we had the Brazil in. Actually, I take it back. We're gonna use this more shallow one just because I'd rather use this for like cuttings and stuff that I have in the future, because these ones are good, the shallow ones, it just, they get outgrown a lot quicker, so I'd rather do like a seed start in this one because I won't use this one as much. So we're just gonna put some soil in there. Actually, I think we're just gonna fill it to the top with soil, maybe pack it down a bit. And then I think it just says to plant it at an angle with the seed capsule covered in soil, and then you water it and just keep it moist. Avoid direct sunlight. So just in a darker spot, I don't know, maybe just on the bookshelf or something. So we're just gonna take the tip, stick that in, see if it works. Maybe keep it a bit closer to the soil, or the like top of the soil actually, so it doesn't have to grow very far. So pack that in a bit, and then let's just stick it in. It says there's a 30-degree angle, but who even knows what a 30-degree angle is? I'm not gonna measure it, but we'll see. I'll water that and we'll see how it does. But those were the main plants that I needed to repot, and it went pretty smoothly. I'm glad none of them were like in poor shape, you know, like they were root bound, but it was like a healthy root and all that. So yeah, I'm super pleased with them. And I hope you found this helpful. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe for more, and I'll keep you guys updated on that little seed start pencil thing. But thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. Take care.